So yeah, I think the stop and frisk discussion is just kind of an extension of this lack of trust. Um, like you hear both sides of it, right? Like you hear folks in the community that say, if you have nothing to hide, don't worry about it. Let them frisk you. Just keep it moving. There's too much at stake. You don't want to risk your life and your safety or your kids' safety. And then there's folks that say, this shouldn't happen. But I think either way, both sets of folks agree that if the relationship and trust was there, you might not even have this discussion. We've heard a lot of complaints, particularly within public housing, that the stop and frisk thing has gotten a bit out of control. We interviewed a bunch of kids from Taft houses just to talk about, gang violence and, what's happened there and, what they thought the solution was, to ending the gang violence. And they were like, we're not concerned about the gang violence. We're concerned about the police, like talk to the police and get them to stop, harassing me on the way home. And I think things have just broken down. There's just a real lack of trust. And I think I see it from the PD perspective. Sometimes they're in a place where they're not familiar with, they don't know anybody, they feel a little out there. And I see it from the kids' perspective. They're just trying to get home. You know, so I think these are just two communities that need to kind of be brought together. And to kind of rebuild that trust. And I think if it was there, we wouldn't be having this kind of discussion about stop and frisk. I mean, I think it's a strategy that's just kind of the culmination of this data-driven, statistically driven policing effort.
Okay, and like you mentioned, the value of community policing. How would that work exactly?
I mean, I think particularly within public housing, since we're talking about it, like if you had community policing, you would have officers assigned to a certain part of the district, within certain hours of the day, so that if you and, your friends were hanging out, in front of your building, every day, after school, officer whoever would get to know you, and get to know that, these kids live in this building. I mean, at any given block in East Harlem or even, most of New York, you know who lives in a building or who's from that block. People that live on the block know, and people know if there's somebody strange on the block, they it's unusual, right? And I don't think the police have kind of developed that kind of rapport with the community where they know what the people know. So instead of kind of building relationships with, kids, same place in the district, same part of the day, I think everyone's kind of lumped in together, and I think that's where we lose it. So, yeah.